and unpack it with political analyst Ongama Mtimka, who's joining us by Skype. Ongama, very good afternoon to you. So the ANC in Gauteng engaged in what we can, I suppose, call at this stage crisis talks, because some prominent people in its leadership are linked to alleged wrongdoing. Yes, it's yet to be investigated by the SIU. How does the party come out of those meetings today?
It's important that the party comes out because it's a member of their PEC whose spouse is allegedly involved in receiving tenders unduly. And obviously we understand the sensitivity that is there about people who are in the service of the state who then have got friends or key members of families who do business with the state. And it's very close here, because it's not a question of somebody who is in the PEC but is not in government and having their husband benefit from a state contract. It's actually somebody who is inside government. So it's important that the PEC comes out, sort of the top leadership of the ANC comes out and state whether they have got anything to do with this. And because it's important for them to protect their image in this case.
I want to start with the Gauteng Health MEC Bandile Masuku, who's issued a statement saying, look, he's not linked to any of these allegations. He's done nothing wrong, essentially, and if there is wrongdoing, he supports calls for the strongest action to be taken. But can he continue to lead the Gauteng response to COVID-19, given that he's got this massive cloud hanging over his head?
Yeah, so it came out on the reports, I think over the weekend, that him and his wife may have played a role or were linked to this contract, especially to the one that Mr. The King is linked to. And obviously they are denying that. It's always an interesting question, this one, Tembi, as to when does a politician fingered in potential corruption vacate office in order to allow for an investigation to take place. And in fact, we as South Africans have got the expectation that once people are fingered, they would are fingered in corruption, they would immediately be suspended or resign. But there's a legitimate question that gets asked as to there must be particular evidence, whether that's prima facie as evidence, that's with an investigating authority, which becomes the basis for those calls to be made. Otherwise, it may subject politicians to witch hunts, as well as reputationally damaging allegations which have got no backing. So we always have to balance between what are credible allegations, which are before investigating authorities, and those which where prima facie evidence has not been arrived at yet by competent authorities to investigate cases of this nature.
So Kusala Diko, the spokesperson for the president, has said that she only learned of her husband's dealings with the Gauteng government when he got these commitment letters to supply the personal protective equipment. She says there's been no wrongdoing on either of their side, and in fact she convinced him to let go of the deal. No money had been paid, right? And yes, we cannot pronounce at this stage on her innocence or guilt, because that would have to be done by a court. But she is in the office of the president. How big a liability is that for Ramaphosa's anti-corruption message, guilty or innocent?
First of all, we must give her the benefit of doubt. We do suspect that, given her position in the PEC, there's a reasonable expectation that where there's smoke, there's fire. But at the same time, when she rebuts those allegations, I think she does deserve to be given a benefit of doubt, because remember that these are people who are adults. The husband should have known not to do business with the state, but it should also be consolation, the fact that there is no way she would have been directly involved in the decision-making process. That's not to say she must be absolved, but that the it's important for law enforcement to apply itself, as well as bear in mind the circumstances that what she's claiming, that upon realizing that he had secured that contract, he then advised her otherwise. But the message should be sent very strongly, Tembi, that we shouldn't have a state that procures on the basis of kinship and friendship. That's what we call neo-patrimonialism.
So given that, what you pointed to about giving both Bandile Masuku, the MEC of Health in Gauteng, and the President's spokesperson, Kusala Diko, the benefit of the doubt, we know we're a country that operates on the premise of innocent until proven guilty. But when you look at the public reaction, people almost saying, look, this is most certainly corruption. Again, this has not been confirmed by a court. But it speaks to that breakdown of the trust that the South African public has, especially in the governing party.
It does. So my submission is that once the investigation yields enough prima facie evidence, that's enough, even without a court of law proving anyone guilty, for calls to be made that perhaps a suspension or whatever sanction is necessary. But not on the basis of face value allegations that get made. As sensitive as we should be as South Africans to corruption, especially higher up in government, we should bear in mind that there is that principle. But it wouldn't be surprising too, Tembi, that in fact there's a lot of evidence that may come that proves that in fact at some stage roles may have been played which compromise both husband and wife. But at this stage, there is absence of that.
Mm-hmm.